March 8, 1957, Bumpy Johnson cut into his ribeye at Chez Maurice. The knife slid through, too easy. He lifted the fork, the meat glistened wrong, and in that half second before the bite touched his lips, Bumpy's instincts screamed one word: poison. He set the fork down, pushed the plate away, and asked a question that made the entire restaurant go silent. "Where's Chef Antoine?" 20 minutes later, they found him, in the walk-in freezer, hanging from a meat hook, still wearing his white chef's coat, and in his pocket was a photograph that would start the bloodiest week in Harlem's history. To understand what happened that night at Chez Maurice, you need to understand where Bumpy Johnson was in 1957. He was 51 years old, king of Harlem for 2 decades, untouchable. He'd survived wars with Dutch Schultz, made deals with Lucky Luciano, outlasted every gangster who'd ever challenged him. But success makes you a target. And in March 1957, someone decided Bumpy Johnson had lived long enough. Chez Maurice was on 125th Street and St. Nicholas Avenue, upscale, classy, the kind of place where Harlem's elite came to eat French cuisine and feel sophisticated. White tablecloths, crystal glasses, a wine list that cost more than most people made in a month. Bumpy ate there every Friday night, same table, table 9 in the back corner, good sight lines, multiple exits, old habits from too many close calls. He always ordered the same thing: ribeye steak, medium rare, garlic mashed potatoes, no sauce, simple, predictable. That was his first mistake. In Bumpy's world, patterns got you killed. March 8, 8:47 p.m. Bumpy walked in wearing his trademark gray suit, fedora, gold watch chain. He nodded to the maitre d', who escorted him to table 9 without asking. His lieutenant, Willie Quick Lewis, sat 2 tables away, watching, always watching. The waiter, a young man named Pierre, brought water and bread. Would Monsieur Johnson like his usual this evening? Bumpy nodded. 20 minutes later, Pierre returned with the steak. It looked perfect. Seared crust, pink center, steam rising. Pierre set it down with a smile. Bon appétit. Then disappeared into the kitchen a little too quickly. Bumpy picked up his knife and fork, cut into the meat. The blade slid through like butter. That's when his brain registered something wrong. A ribeye cooked medium rare has resistance. The knife should meet texture, fiber, pushback. This didn't. This felt like cutting through gelatin. Bumpy lifted the piece on his fork, studied it. The color was right, the char was right, but the texture was off. Too smooth, too uniform, and there was a smell, faint, almost undetectable. But Bumpy had a nose for danger that had kept him alive for 30 years. Almonds, bitter almonds. Cyanide has a smell most people never recognize because most people who smell it don't live long enough to remember it. But Bumpy had smelled it before. When he watched a rival gang try to poison a union boss with cyanide-laced whiskey. The man died in 4 minutes, convulsing, choking. His lips turned blue and his eyes rolled back, and Bumpy never forgot that smell. He set the fork down, didn't take the bite, pushed the plate to the center of the table. Quick Lewis saw the gesture. His hand moved inside his jacket. Bumpy caught his eye and shook his head slightly. "Not yet, wait," Bumpy signaled Pierre. The waiter approached, smiling. "Yes, Monsieur Johnson." "Is everything the steak?" Bumpy interrupted. "Where's Chef Antoine?" Pierre's smile faltered. "Chef Antoine? He's in the kitchen, of course. He prepared your meal himself. As always, get him now." Something in Bumpy's voice made Pierre's face go pale. "Of course, monsieur, right away." Pierre disappeared through the swinging kitchen doors. Bumpy waited. 30 seconds. 1 minute. 2 minutes. Pierre didn't come back. Chef Antoine didn't come out. The kitchen doors stayed closed. Bumpy stood up. Quick Lewis was on his feet instantly, gun drawn beneath his jacket. They walked toward the kitchen together. The dining room had gone quiet. Other patrons sensed something wrong. The air had changed. Tension you could taste. Bumpy pushed through the kitchen doors. Inside, chaos. 3 sous chefs, 2 dishwashers, all frozen, staring at him. "Where's Antoine?" Bumpy asked quietly. The line cook, a man named Marcel, pointed with a shaking hand. "The freezer. He went in there 20 minutes ago. We heard the lock click. We thought he was doing inventory." The walk-in freezer was at the back of the kitchen. Heavy steel door, industrial handle, a thermostat reading 28 degrees Fahrenheit. Quick Lewis reached for the handle. Bumpy stopped him. "Wait, check the lock first." Quick examined it. No damage, no forced entry. It was locked from the inside. Someone sealed themselves in. Or someone was sealed in. Bumpy took a breath. Open it. The door swung open. Cold air rushed out. Fog billowed into the warm kitchen. And there, hanging from a meat hook meant for sides of beef, was Chef Antoine Moreau. His white chef's coat was spotless. His face was blue, frozen. His eyes were wide open, staring at nothing. A thin rope was around his neck, tied to the hook above. His feet dangled 6 inches off the ground. But here's what made Quick Lewis take a step back. Antoine wasn't dead from hanging. The rope was loose, too loose. This wasn't suicide. Someone had hung him up after he died. This was a message. Bumpy walked into the freezer. The cold bit through his suit. He studied Antoine's body. No struggle marks on the wrists, no defensive wounds. Just a single needle puncture on the side of his neck. Small, professional, someone with medical training, or assassination training. Bumpy searched Antoine's pockets. Found a wallet. $80, 3 credit cards, a photograph. Bumpy pulled out the photograph. It was a picture of a woman and 2 children. Antoine's family. They lived in a small apartment in the Bronx. Bumpy had met them once at a charity event. Nice people, quiet. But behind the photograph was another picture. This one made Bumpy's jaw tighten. It was a surveillance photo of Bumpy himself, taken outside his apartment building. Date stamped March 1st, 1957, 7 days ago, and written on the back in red ink, target confirmed. Proceed with phase 2. Bumpy pocketed both photographs. He looked at Antoine's frozen face one more time, then walked out of the freezer. Quick, get the car, we're leaving. Now, what about the body? Someone already called the police. They'll find him. As they walked through the dining room, Bumpy stopped at table 9, picked up his plate, held it under the light. The steak glistened with an oily residue, definitely poisoned. He carried the plate outside and dropped it in a trash can behind the restaurant. Evidence gone. Let the cops wonder. By the time NYPD arrived, Bumpy was 3 blocks away, in the back of his Cadillac, thinking. Antoine had been his personal chef at Chez Maurice for 6 years. Loyal, trustworthy, never asked questions, always cooked Bumpy's steak exactly right, which meant Antoine didn't poison that steak. Someone else did. Someone who killed Antoine and took his place in the kitchen long enough to prepare the meal. But why hang the body? Why leave it where it would be found? Because whoever did this wanted Bumpy to know. This wasn't just an assassination attempt. It was psychological warfare. It was a statement. We got to your chef, we can get to anyone around you. You're not safe anywhere. By midnight, Bumpy was in his office above Small's Paradise Jazz Club. Quick Lewis and 3 other lieutenants surrounded him. Willie Fish Jackson, Raymond Quick Draw Brown, and Junie Bird, now 73 years old but still sharp as a blade. Boss, Fish said, this was professional. Military grade, the needle puncture, the cyanide, the timing. This wasn't some amateur hit. Bumpy lit a cigar. I know, which means it's not local. Genovese? Quick suggested. Bumpy shook his head. Vito and I have an understanding. He doesn't touch Harlem. I don't touch his operations. This breaks that truce. He wouldn't risk it, unless someone paid him enough. Junie Bird leaned forward. What if it's not the Italians? What if it's someone new? That's when the phone rang. Bumpy's private line. Only 6 people in New York had that number. He picked up. This is Johnson. A voice on the other end. Calm, cold, French accent. Mr. Johnson, I trust you enjoyed your meal this evening. Or rather didn't enjoy it. Smart man. Not many would catch what we added. Bumpy's grip on the phone tightened. Who is this? Someone who's been paid a considerable amount of money to end your reign in Harlem. Chef Antoine was a demonstration, a preview. Consider it professional courtesy. We wanted you to know we're coming, and there's nowhere you can hide. Bumpy kept his voice steady. You killed an innocent man. He wasn't part of this game. The voice laughed. Everyone's part of the game, Mr. Johnson. You of all people should know that. Your chef wasn't innocent. He took money from you. He enabled your empire. That makes him complicit. That makes him fair game. You've got 1 week to settle your affairs. After that, we finish what we started tonight. And next time, you won't smell the poison. The line went dead. Bumpy set the phone down slowly. Looked at his men. French accent. Professional. Calls ahead to announce himself. Quick's eyes widened. Corsican mob. The Union course. Bumpy nodded. That's what I'm thinking. But why? What did I do to piss off the Corsicans? Junie spoke up. You didn't do anything. But someone paid them. The union course doesn't work for free. They're mercenaries. High-end. Expensive. Whoever hired them has serious money. And serious motivation. Over the next 3 days, Bumpy's network went to work. Informants in every borough. Cops on the payroll. Bartenders who heard things. By March 11th, they had a name. Victor Castellano. A real estate developer from Chicago. 38 years old. Rich. Ruthless. And according to sources, he wanted to build luxury apartments in Harlem. The only problem, Bumpy controlled the protection racket. The unions. The permits. Everything Castellano needed to break ground. Castellano had approached Bumpy 6 months earlier, offered a partnership. Bumpy had said no. Harlem wasn't for sale. Not to outsiders. Not for any price. Apparently, Castellano didn't take rejection well. He hired the union corpspace, paid them $200,000, with one instruction: kill Bumpy Johnson, make it public, make it painful, and make sure everyone in Harlem knows that Castellano is the new power. March 13th, 6 days after the poisoned steak, Bumpy Johnson did something he'd only done twice before in his life. He left Harlem, took a train to Philadelphia, met with an old friend, a man named Jean-Baptiste Leclerc. Jean-Baptiste was Corsican, former Union Corse himself, retired now, ran a quiet restaurant in South Philly. When Bumpy walked into that restaurant, Jean-Baptiste knew why he was there. "They want you dead," Jean-Baptiste said, pouring wine. "Big contract. My cousin Luke is running the operation. 3-man team, ex-Foreign Legion, the best." Bumpy sipped his wine. "Can you stop them?" Jean-Baptiste smiled sadly. "No one stops Luke. Once he takes a contract, it's done. You could run, disappear, South America maybe." Bumpy shook his head. "I don't run. Then you die." There was a long silence. "Unless," Jean-Baptiste said slowly, "you kill the man who hired them. Contracts can be cancelled if the client dies before completion. It's in the code. Eliminates loose ends." Bumpy leaned back. "Victor Castellano." Jean-Baptiste nodded. "Kill him, and Luke goes home. The contract dissolves. You live. Harlem stays yours. But you've got 3 days. After that, Luke moves regardless. It's a matter of professional pride." March 16th, Bumpy returned to New York. Didn't go to Harlem, went straight to the Waldorf Astoria Hotel, Suite 2008, where Victor Castellano was staying. Bumpy walked into the lobby at 3 a.m. No bodyguards, no weapons visible, just a man in a gray suit carrying a leather briefcase. He took the elevator to the 24th floor, walked to room 2408, knocked, no answer. Knocked again, a voice from inside, annoyed. "Who is it?" Bumpy spoke clearly. "Room service, Mr. Castellano. You ordered champagne." "I didn't order anything." The door opened. Victor Castellano stood there in silk pajamas, confused, annoyed, then terrified, because he recognized the face in front of him. "You," Castellano whispered. Bumpy smiled. It wasn't a friendly smile. "Me." What happened in that hotel room? No one knows for sure. But at 3:47 a.m., Bumpy Johnson walked out, still carrying his briefcase, still wearing his gray suit, not a wrinkle out of place. Victor Castellano was found 3 hours later by housekeeping. He was sitting in a chair by the window, fully dressed, a glass of champagne in his hand, dead. The medical examiner ruled it a heart attack, sudden, unexpected, natural causes, but people who knew better understood. Bumpy Johnson had made his point. The union course contract was void. Luke and his team left New York the next day. No hard feelings. Just business. Chef Antoine's funeral was held on March 20th. Bumpy paid for everything. The casket, the flowers, the burial plot. He stood in the back during the service. Didn't speak. Just watched as Antoine's wife and children said goodbye. After everyone left, Bumpy walked to the grave, placed a single white rose on the casket. "I'm sorry, Antoine. You deserved better. You deserved to stay out of my world. But that's not how it works. Everybody touches everybody, and sometimes the innocent pay the price." Bumpy Johnson died 11 years later, 1968. Heart attack at Wells Restaurant in Harlem. Some say the stress finally caught him. Some say it was all those years of looking over his shoulder, of tasting poison in every meal, of never trusting anyone completely. The story of the poisoned steak became legend in Harlem. People still tell it, still debate whether it really happened, whether Chef Antoine was real. whether Bumpy actually went to Philadelphia and made a deal with the Corsicans. But here's what everyone agrees on: Bumpy Johnson didn't die from poison, he died on his own terms. And that, in his world, was the only victory that mattered.